Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is a review of the Sony 300 2.8 G Master OSS lens. Now, a lot of Sony shooters have been waiting for a 300 2.8 for a long time, and honestly, Canon doesn't make a fixed 300 2.8 anymore, and I don't think they ever will, and Nikon also doesn't make a fixed 300 2.8 anymore, and I'm not sure that they will, but a little later on in this video, we're gonna compare this to the 100 to 300 2.8 that Canon offers. But this, right off the bat, it is a masterpiece of engineering. It is a beautiful, beautiful lens. And at the end of this, you're gonna have to decide, is it something for you or is it not something for you? But what did I photograph? Well, I took it out to photograph the Philadelphia Union, who were playing the New England, I don't know the name of the New England soccer team. I shot the whole game, don't even know what they're called, but I took it out into a real world situation to test it out because a 300 2.8 might be a very good soccer lens. And honestly, it is really good for sports, so that's what I used it for. Now, I decided to use the Sony A1 because at the time that I had this lens, that new camera wasn't out just yet for sports shooters, but the A1 is still a fantastic body with its 50 megapixels. So right off the bat, let's take a look at the outside of the lens. I mean, the first thing that you notice when you pick this up, and you don't notice this at home because you're not picking it up, is how balanced and light it is. It weighs in at 3.2 pounds or 1,470 grams. The first time I saw an image of this, I was shocked at how small it was. Let me take off the lens hood. This is it. This is a 300 2.8. I've never seen a 300 2.8 this small, and I think it is the world's smallest in the history of lenses, large aperture 300mm lens. I mean, it's light, it's balanced, and it's 100% hand holdable. I could have shot the entire soccer game hand holding this, but I decided to put it on a monopod because why sit there and hand hold it when I can just put it on a monopod? And that does bring us to an interesting point about the Canon 100 to 300, which weighs in at 5.7 pounds. It's almost twice the weight of this, but if you're gonna use it on a monopod, the weight doesn't matter at the end of the day. The biggest question for Sony shooters is going to be, is 300 2.8, is a 300 enough? Or are you considering going over to Canon because you want the versatility of a 100 to 300 2.8? I know where I want to be, but right now, this is a review of this bad boy right here, and it is gorgeous. All right, outside of the lens, you've got a bunch of switches over here. Steven has them up on the screen right now. You've got your autofocus to manual switch, your full-time DMF on or off, your full, where you could limit the amount of focus, whether it goes all the way through the focus range. Honestly, this lens focuses so fast that I don't think you need to limit it. Back in the day, you would limit it because if it would go all the way out to the end or all the way close, it would take forever to hunt and go back. This lens, you do not have that problem at all. In terms of focusing motors, you have two XD linear motors in here. It is lightning quick, like Lightning McQueen, which I still haven't watched that movie. Cars, never saw it, but it is so lightning fast on the A1 that it's not even funny. You might slip to the background and then back to the main subject. It's just so fast. It's purely insane. You've got your OSS switch on and off, as well as your modes 1, 2, and 3 for your optical stabilization. You have your 4 custom buttons on the side that do 4 same things. They do the exact same thing. So if you set this one button, it's gonna be the same as this. It's just set that way so as you rotate the lens, you always have access to the same custom function button right there. You do have a control ring that you could custom set. Say you wanna bang in on your A1 and you wanna go to 1.5x crop factor, you could just boom, do that, it's gonna bang in, do it again, it's gonna bang back out. But you can custom set that for yourself. This is your tripod foot. It actually comes off. The whole ring doesn't come off this time, but this slides off because, I mean, you don't even know this is in your hands and you don't even need to have muscles like me. That's how insanely light it is. One thing I don't like is that this just spins and doesn't click. Sony's 400 2.8 and 600 f4, they click in. The Canon 100 to 300, it clicks as you rotate. That's right, it clicks into place. I like that because it helps me know where center is. It helps me know where flush is, and I can go from there and move it any which way I want. I don't know why they didn't do it here, but they didn't. Not a deal breaker, just something that you usually have on your high-end pro lenses. Now this is your lens hood. I, for some reason, can't remember lens hood today. It used to have a screw on the side of it, which is interesting. It just goes on, clicks in, locks in. Now I say it's interesting because this is your lens hood that you get. It's a lens cover. It has an opening right here because generally in the past, you always had a place to screw the lens hood right here. So that's where it would stick out. And I bring that up because right here with the Canon, just to give you a size comparison, yeah, it's pretty damn large. But what the Canon does have is a 112mm lens cap. So you have a lens cap with a front filter thread that if you do want to put a filter on this, you could go ahead and do that. Whereas with the Sony, if you want to use filters, you have to use the drop-in filter, which is at the bottom right here. So let's get into looking at the sample images that I captured, and let's take you out to Subaru Park where the Philadelphia Union play. Now there are a couple of places that I like to shoot. One is the corner by the flag, but what happens is some of the players start to warm up throughout the half and they end up blocking your view. So I move to just the right of the goal, which is a good place to sit at, except for when I get screamed at every time by security because they think I'm gonna do something wrong and I'm actually not doing anything wrong.
You gotta be back. You can't be in their line.
I didn't set up yet, dude.
It doesn't matter. I'm warning you. Don't be in their line.
So starting off in the corner, these are the type of images that you end up getting. I'm shooting at 1/3200th of a second at 2.8 at 1250 ISO as the sun is going down. I don't like shooting at this area when the lights are fully on and there is no more daylight because the lights are just terrible. The color, everything about them is horrible. But as we look at this, does it look like you're far away? I mean, partly because a 300 doesn't fill you in all of the way, but a 300 2.8 is a really nice lens for sports as they're coming towards you. I mean, everything about this lens is honestly fantastic. It is super sharp, it's super fast, it's super hand holdable. It is a beautiful lens, but is it too late? Is it too late that they came out with this lens? I'll answer that at the very end of this. Let me jump in here real quick because I want to show you FroPak 4 in action on this photo taken with the new 300 2.8 from Sony, starting with Blue's Clues, followed by Brooklyn. C41 gives it an awesome filmic look. We've got Coppertone, DeLorean, High C, Kaleidoscope, Mel Brooks, Saltwater Taffy, Thick, Tintype, Wet Hot American Summer, and my all-time favorite from FroPak 1 called Skittles. Boom, that's how great it looks. So look, if you want to speed up your raw workflow or give yourself a great starting point or you're tired of presets that just don't work because ours actually do work, we created 14 all-new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at FroKnowsPhoto.com/FroPak4. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the before and the afters. If you decide that you like them, they are currently on sale. Or if you want to get Skittles, which is part of FroPak 1, you can get the Grand Slam bundle of FroPak 1, 2, 3, and 4 and save even more. Now, let's get back to the review. The colors, the tones, as we move to the front of the net where the goalie gets the ball and he starts to throw it out, he didn't decide to kick it out, I'm just like, you just lock it off. The A1, fantastic. You got your 50 megapixels, which a lot of photographers are gonna maybe crop that way. They might say, look, I got a 300 2.8, but I got 50 megapixels, I might as well just crop later. Or they could put on a 1.4 or a 2x converter, but that becomes a pain in the butt because now you're turning it into an f4 or an f5.6, and you lose out on the versatility that you honestly never had in the first place. But again, as we zoom in, super tack sharp, beautiful isolation that you get of the subjects, because you see that as the player is running down the field towards me, just look at the isolation of the subject. It's nothing that you wouldn't get with a past 300 2.8, but the accuracy and the speed that you get, because you can get those 30 frames a second because it's capable of doing that. Now, for those who don't know, with some of the other lenses from Sigma or Tamron, it kind of limits your shooting to say 15 frames a second and not 30 frames per second, but this lens can absolutely keep up with it. Just look how it obliterates the background, and it's gorgeous when a player is in this situation. Now, I want you to watch this clip because this is a good learning moment right here. This is where one of the Union guys absolutely takes out the other opponent, and you can see I just lock off and I'm banging through the shots. I shot early and I shot through the play. That's one thing you sometimes need to learn with sports, is that we're not shooting film. So you don't have just 36 shots anymore. You have the ability to bang them out, but you shouldn't just spray and pray. But if there's action happening and you see it's about to happen, and then keep shooting through the play, because sometimes you stop too soon and you would miss what I got here, which is the guy tumbling over. Then he's writhing on the ground in pain because he'll be up in about 2 seconds feeling all good now because he's a soccer player. So I do like to shoot from almost behind the net, but to the right of it, because that's where a lot of the action comes right to you or towards you in the box. You get these guys fighting for the ball right here. Just, again, it's beautiful. You know the 302.8 on an A1 is gonna be awesome, but there is a problem, and this is where the versatility thing comes into play. In front of the net, or in this case, this guy gets tripped in the box, or the goalie takes him out, and I ended up missing that because I couldn't pull back because I'm stuck with a prime fixed 302.8. Whereas if I had the 100 to 300, which I have shot soccer with before, absolutely loved the ability to have my 300 and then track the player as he's coming towards me, because it gave me the ability to get the action wider in the box. But for this, I'm stuck at 300. And yeah, when you're shooting sports, you may have a 70 to 200 next to you, or a 24 to 70 with 2 different cameras. But sometimes you can't move that quick. And in this case, I was just testing out the 300. And this is where the problem lies. I can't really tell that it's a penalty shot. It just looks like the guy, or a penalty kick, it just looks like the guy is kicking the ball, because you have nothing else. You can't go to 100 where you get the goalie and the guy kicking the ball, and you just lose out on it. And when they're celebrating and you go vertical and you fill the frame, you'll lose all context. Whereas if you had the 100 to 300, you could absolutely pull back and have more versatility. That is the biggest question for people trying to decide, am I gonna go with Sony or am I gonna go with Canon, if the 300 range is something you wanna go with? Or if you're someone who maybe wants to jump ship one day and that 100 to 300 does it for you, I would take a 100 to 300 all day over a lens like this. We still have to get to the price because that's gonna play a major part. So the next image is showing you all the way across the field. This is what a 300 gives you in front of the net. You can see that the background doesn't dissipate because you're shooting from a super far distance. You're not gonna be able to get that background to blow out at a long way, but that's the nature of all lenses, but that just shows you the field of view that you get. The next, you have a celebration after a goal. But I don't get the goal because I can't go wider. And this is what I'm stuck with the celebration. Is it an amazing photo? I mean, look how sharp as I zoom. Oh my God, it is, I'm cutting my fingers touching this right now. That's how sharp it is. Beautiful, 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 beautiful lens. That is really what it comes down to. Let me jump in here real quick and let you know that this video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you're looking to build your very own online portfolio, use what I've been using for mine for well over 10 years at this point, because it's easy, it's affordable, and I don't need to know coding, and I guarantee you in under 30 minutes, you're gonna have your site up and out into the world for people to check out. Head on over to squarespace.com/FroKnowsPhoto to get your 14-day free trial. If you decide that it's for you, use the code FroKnowsPhoto at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Now, let's get back to the video. How much is this lens? It's $6,000. Is that reasonable? Yeah, for a 302.8 of this caliber, 100% reasonable. Canon lens, how much is this? This is $9,500. But the versatility, to me, I mean, I bought this lens. I spent my $9,500 plus tax to buy this lens personally, and it worked extremely well when I was out shooting Major League Baseball. It was fantastic to have the versatility. It comes down to that for me. If you've been waiting for a 302.8 from Sony and that's what you love, you cannot go wrong with purchasing this 302.8. It is gorgeous. Order it right now. The link is down below. That's our affiliate link. It helps us to continue to make these videos. It's a must buy if you've been waiting for a 300. I don't know that 300 is the right choice anymore as a fixed lens. I've said it throughout this video. 100 to 300, the ability to have it, you can hand hold it, not as easy as this one, but man, that versatility, you're gonna get shots that you would have otherwise missed, and I don't think you're skimping out on quality by going with a zoom that is a 2.8 like this. One thing I didn't mention is that the 300 2.8 Sony has 11 aperture blades, whereas the Canon has 9. It's for you to decide whether you care about that or not. Some people do. You might get a rounder bokeh out at the end, and a prime lens tends to be a little sharper. Maybe in this day and age, it doesn't matter as much as it used to be compared to a zoom, but that is what you have, 11 versus 9. But the most important things to talk about here is the sniff test. Oh, that sits and rotates. Smells like a sit and spin that a 4-year-old just used. I don't even know if they make sit and spins anymore. Now that we're back on the main set here, I'm gonna turn this over. I haven't built out the wind tunnel part yet, but I'm gonna huff and puff and blow. I mean, perfect. This lens absolutely passes the wind tunnel test. This lens passes almost every single test because it is fantastic. So at the end of the day, it's for you to decide if this is for you, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. Oh, I don't want this to roll off, so I'm gonna do it just like this. Which would you go with? Would you go with the 100 to 300? Would you consider jumping ship from Sony to Canon for the more versatile lenses that you have options for, like an 85-1.2, a 50-1.2, 100 to 300, 200 to 800, all the wider lenses, the 10 to 20? You have a lot of options on that Canon side. Are you upset with what Sony has done here? Because they probably came up with this design and this lens, like, yeah, we're gonna come out with an awesome 300 2.8, and then Canon's like, doopy doopy doo, we got a 100 to 300, pew pew pew. Anyway, stay tuned for that slideshow. Thank you guys very much for watching. Jared, Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.